mid Varus versus a Twisted Fate. And okay. I always start off talking about win conditions, and again, this is going to be no exception to that. Win conditions are very important, and it lets you realize what your team is able to do and what their team is able to do, and then it lets you start thinking about how you need to set up for that. Every play has like a 3 minute uh, preliminary phase because nothing happens because just one like flash. It happens because all of the vision control, all of the wave management, all of the harass that brings it up to that one point. So whenever you have a team fight and you lose it, it's not just a bad team fight normally. Now there are cases where someone can just truly outplay you, but those are really few and far between. If you take a smart fight, then odds are you're going to win. And smart fights take time to set up. So rehearsing these win conditions lets you know how you need to be setting up for your team. So for starters, I know why you went Varus. You have a Ziggs 80 carry. I was actually kind of curious about this in whenever I was originally loading in, but it makes sense. It makes sense. That way you guarantee that you have the AD for team fight sustain damage. But here comes the little catch. Your team is not really the type of team that's going to get into sustained fights, and nor really is theirs. Both of these teams are fully pick based. The only sustained fighting they have is the Aurelia. Everyone else is going to basically just burst someone down. Your team is reliant on the Varus ult, the Sona ult, or, just kind of the Ziggs harass to the point that you can just flash auto or something. But you really don't have a team fight again. And their team is the same way. So it's not that you're in a bad position. It's not that they're in a good position, and they're not in a bad position either. It just tells you what you're going to be trying to do. Both of these teams are very pick reliant. And how you set up for picks is controlling vision and controlling rotations. Because if you have 3 people on this turret, a TF is not going to be able to wave clear because he's not going to be able to step up to the wave to red card it. He can throw a Q, but that's not going to finish the whole wave. That's going to get part of it, but you're still going to get some damage on the turret. So you have to figure out how you're going to set up for these rotations. Okay, so your job specifically this game as Varus, well, early lane should be in your favor because it's a Twisted Fate who has one ability and your autos are your bread and butter. You also have better harass potential than him early with your Q. So you should have an easy lane phase for the start of this. And your jungler, Kayn is not a very early jungler, and Kha'Zix is kind of like a mid-game to late-game jungle too. So you really shouldn't even expect much jungle pressure. But what you do need to be very aware of is setting up for once TF hits 6. Because that's whenever your team is going to start not necessarily falling behind, but having problems. How do you set up for a Twisted Fate? Well, one way is to make it so that he can never roam. By pushing in the wave is one way of doing this. Another way of but that's dangerous. You cannot do this all the time. And I'll be talking about how you can track junglers, and as this game goes on, it's better with examples. But you cannot just always push them in. You're going to get ganked, and you're going to die, 100%. The other way is by controlling his routes to gank. So he has 2 real options to walk down bottom to gank, which is where most not junglers, Twisted Fates try and gank. They try and gank bottom because it's 2 kills instead of 1. And bottom lane on their team has a lot of setup. Top lane does have some setup too, but I would be more concerned about the bottom. Okay, so your vision control in these areas is going to be critical. If you can catch the TF walking down early, he's not going to be able to chase down a gank. Also, you could stop him with your ult, but I don't know how much that is your concern, really. It's not something that you really should be fighting for. But early lane shouldn't not be a problem for you. Yeah, and once it gets to mid-game, you need to be reliant on pick potential, which for your job is harassing and landing those ults. So I saw you built Armor Pen this game. If it's the one I'm thinking about, that's how you get some harass done, so that's fine. I would also be thinking about getting tier this game, just because that's the playstyle you're more or less going to be having, spamming out those arrows. Because your team, again, it is not a full-on team fight. There's not going to be a full-on team fight, especially if this goes Shadow Cane, which he probably will, knowing solo queue. Your options to roam are fairly limited, but not non-existent. Okay, so for starters, I'm going to turn on just your team's vision. This lets me better track the jungler and show what I'm thinking during that process. Um, for starters, you want to see where the enemy jungler starts. Okay, actually no. Let me rewind a bit. The first thing that you always should be concerned about is what you do in your first 2 minutes of the game. Uh, you're for starters thinking about these win conditions, but you need to be positioning yourself to stop invades. Whenever you're sitting under turret like this, you're essentially AFK, and that allows for these invades to walk all the way around here and then to catch someone out bottom. Because what if they're just waiting on this blue buff? They had no one watching on this side. This is your job. Or not necessarily your job, but it is something you could contribute. And if you're not doing something that's this simple, then the truth of the matter is you're not doing everything in your power to win. And if you're not doing everything in your power to win, then you're not trying to climb. And since you're, gone through all the trouble to find a mentor and, are going to watch this coaching, you need to be doing all of this. This is a little simple thing that can result in a kill, can result in summoner spells, which can result in more kills. It can result in your jungler being denied, which can result in more kills and more pressure for the enemy team. It's a super minor thing, but it affects so much. Professional play has a huge emphasis on these early parts of the game, and you should try and emphasize it too. I'm not saying you should have been here, because I would not have been over here. I would not have been over here. But this is what you want to be doing. Where you are right now means you're not doing everything in your power to win. All right. So, okay, second thing, right? Since I was talking about first thing and then that popped up. Second thing is to figure out where the jungler starts. So this way you can track him. So before this lane even starts, and I'm going to go through your lane in a moment too, the way you can predict where the jungler starts is really simple, and it's by watching the minimap down here. Alright, they're not here yet. And Aurelia's there, and the Twisted Fate's there. And now they show up late enough to this wave, so you know their jungler started bottom. What does that mean for you? When the jungler starts bottom, okay, this is a wasted ward. I'll get into this too. When the jungler starts bottom, you know that their full clear is going... Oh, fuck, I forgot that this is bugged out. Oh, no, it's not. They fixed it. Okay, I thought the replay system was bugged. So let me try that again. Does it still work? Awesome. Wasted ward. That's yours? Yeah, that's yours. Is it yours? Okay, back to what I was saying. Yeah, you don't need to put this ward down. I'll talk about that in a second. But because you know where the jungler starts, you know where he's going to be. If the jungler does a full clear and they end up at their blue buff, which they should, they're going to be looking to gank either mid or top between 3 and 4 minutes. And why this is a bad ward is specifically because of that timer. This ward should not spot you any danger, not yet, and you're denying yourself resources. This is chugging a health pot when you have 10 damage taken. You're wasting a resource. And again, this is an example of not doing everything in your power to win. Whenever you're tracking the jungle and you know where their pressure is going to be, you know he's going to be looking for a gank around here, that's when you ward. But at this point, you're not going to pursue this to a kill, and even if you just see the TF here, you're not going to be able to do anything with this knowledge. It does nothing for you. Wasted resource. This was nice of you to leash this, and it's good that you get on the wave pretty early still. You don't know where the Twisted Fate is, and you're helping yourself get to level 2. This is an extra dangerous thing, though, judging by what you did with your ward, because you're not going to have your ward for early. And the way that this is going to work is if he plays this wave correctly, because you're pushing this in, it's going to actually. I think that it's going to bounce to you. I think that you're doing this right. I think you're doing this right. Because you're going to get this to his turret and it's going to bounce. Yeah, you should be fine. And that's a good thing right here. You don't ever really want to have full mana in a lane, and you have something that's super easy to do like that. That's something great to look for. This is exactly what you want to do to be doing a trade. One of those windows to trade is having full resource in a way that they can't retaliate. But your cooldown is blown, so stepping up like that while he was switching through his cards was a little bit risky, but then he let his cards go, so you played that fine. I don't think you're going to have any problems mechanically, just judging by this first wave. I still would have taken that damage too, so that's totally fine. You got almost full mana, drop your Hail of Arrows. You're focusing on pushing this wave, and it's a really good time to be pushing this wave to reset it. I totally agree with what you did there, specifically because of this timer again. Um, but you're taking so much damage from nothing. Yeah, I think that you tunnel a bit. Because while you're trying to push this wave up to reset it, you take 4 instances of damage and trade nothing back. Okay, so there's a third problem. Your first 3 minutes of the game has 3 problems. That's not very good. Um, Resources, what you do in the first minute of the game, and then you tunnel onto pushing. Now the wave is in a pretty dangerous spot. And to emphasize what I was talking about earlier, we can tell where the Kha'Zix cleared, kind of in a cheating way because this is the replay. But the Kha'Zix is over here, and if he wanted to, instead of doing this Gromp, he could be looking to gank mid or gank top. And if I was the Kha'Zix in a lane that has CC like Twisted Fate, and you do not have Cleanse, I would be looking mid. So where this wave is now is in a really bad spot for you, but it's going to be pushing back to you. So what you're doing right now is you're hugging the wrong side of the map for starters. If you're ever in a position like this to track the jungle, you know 3 minutes he's going to be on the top side of the map, and they have the potential to engage on you really easily. Play towards the bottom side. Just by putting yourself on the other side of the lane, you make yourself so much harder to gank. Because how would you respond normally by knowing the Kha'Zix was in this bush? By probably standing over here, right? Now, without knowing he's there, you can assume, based off of the timer, and play smarter with what limited resources you have. So let's say you had to drop this ward earlier. The way you can respond to this timer of danger, this 3 to 4 minutes, is by playing down here. You know where he started, so if he wanted to come and gank you, he would have to walk all the way around here. And then by 4 minutes, you can start playing to the top of the lane. Because at 4 minutes, that's whenever their clear is completed. And if they haven't ganked mid or top, they're back bot. And clearing up. Those are really important, simple timers to track the jungle. The biggest thing that can fuck any lane is getting ganked once. Because a summoner spell, a life, which is an XP lead, those 2 minor things mean you die again later. You're walking to try and get a ward, and again, this is a good time. It is 3 minutes. But you didn't really need to do that just yet. And here's why. Right here. If you're looking at these minions, this wave, because of what you managed earlier, it's going to bounce to you if you both last hit normally. So I disagree with walking all the way over here to get this minion, or not minion, to get this ward, because the minions would have pushed to you and you would have been in a safe spot. Wards only last for like 60 seconds, and this setup then you deny yourself again later. You see Kazakh's top lane now, and that's not just because I forgot to turn their team's vision off, but but yeah, he shows top lane. So you know you can be playing up, and you know your Kayn is here. You respond a little bit slowly to ganks. Kazakh's is top. Kayn is coming mid. Right here, you look into it. Okay, you're not that slow. You're fine. You're fine. There's no real way you're going to pursue this kill, though, I don't think. Actually, he turned back on you? Never mind. He killed himself. If he had just walked up this way with another card and flashed, he would have been fine. So this is a pretty safe wave to stay for. It's safe because you know the Kazakhs had a recall. If you were just watching the minimap, you saw the way he was playing. There's no way he'd be middle right now. So staying for this wave is fine, but you need to recall really quickly after this. So what do you do? Maybe you can get in another wave. You are Varus. Yeah, you can. Okay, good. And then you recall. Good. This is how you use a lead. If you don't chop, then you really do not have a lead in lane. Because they're going to come back with items, and that small XP lead that you had could easily be countered by an item. At least, not counting your ultimate. Your ultimate could be pretty impactful, but not in a Twisted Fate lane. Twisted Fate lane, his ult's not going to be that impactful in this. Remember how I was talking about this ward? Remember what I was talking about? 4 minutes, he's going to be bottom and clearing up? Here's an example. This is another example, and this is telling you about resources and tracking the jungle. The biggest thing that can fuck a lane, as I said, is exactly what happened to the Twisted Fate. 4 minutes was when the Kayn ganked, and 4 minutes was when the Kazakhs was clearing up. 5 minutes is when you got ganked. Now you were playing that to the right side of the lane. You see where you are? This might not have been intentional, but this is exactly what I was mentioning with responding to pressure that you do not know is there. Yeah, great job. That's exactly what you want to be doing whenever you're tracking the enemy jungler. This is really risky to stay for, but I would be staying too, so it's not a bad call. It's just risky. And you're playing it safe. Okay, good. But you, again, haven't set up any vision for this. Twisted Fate is only level 5, so he was able to walk down there without that vision. So again, this ward over here, think about what implications this ward had and what you could have been doing. As I said, Twisted Fate's roam bottom. Twisted Fate's roam bottom. If you had a ward over here, your Mia ping, do you see how slowly your Mia ping comes out? Look, 1, 2 seconds before he ganks. 2 seconds. If they wanted to walk back, look at what they were doing. Watch this Mia ping come in. Missing? What are they doing? Well, she walks up, but he wouldn't have been able to walk back anyways because he was rooted. Yeah, it's too late. And this is something that Vision Setup does. So you're thinking about what their team wants to do. Twisted Fate wants to roam bottom, and you retaliate by buying a pink ward, which you do have one, but you did not place. Admittedly, if you placed this whenever you came to lane, which I would have done, it would have caught the Kha'Zix skanking you, which probably would have then killed the pink ward and let the TF roam later. But it still would have saved you from the Kha'Zix skank, which meant you would have had enough health to be playing up. Having a resource in your inventory means, well, in this case, you're thinking about it, but if you don't use it, you gain nothing from it. You know, one of those things that is an economic principle. Money now is worth less than money later. That's why there's interest on things. It pays you for investing. The investment you have in this ward can't do anything for you, and the longer you go without using it, the more money you've essentially wasted. Once you put it down, every second it's down, it's giving you that interest, that he's paying you back. And this is smart, stepping a few steps away because you know he might come for you. Oh, yeah, this is fine. This is exactly where you want these wards. I would put one more over here to watch for him walking on this side of the river. Alternatively, you can just put one deep in lane to watch whenever he walks away from lane. That would also help you hit arrows. That was a good roam. This is a very good thing to be looking for. You immediately have to turn off of this, pull off of this though, because their team is going to collapse on you a lot better than you're able to collapse on them. Because for starters, this. And the Kayn failing that maneuver is his own fault. These pings and stuff, I would completely ignore. He's dead. Yeah, he killed himself. He got out anyways. He should. No, he didn't. He killed himself twice. No, he didn't. Oh my God, he gets out. Does he get out? 2 blue cards, and you find yourself roaming. Okay, so you roam down for the Morgana. This is actually a good roam, judging by where she's positioned. If the Ziggs just turned on the Morgana, you would guarantee a kill over here. You got 3 people on all sides of her. You don't have ult, but you have a lot of damage. Sona should back off here. I would not stay for that ward. Yeah. So, okay, why would I not stay for this ward? It wasn't because of the fight, it was because of this. You're going to lose out on a lot of XP. You're going to lose out on a lot of gold just by not being here, too. And think about what this ward would have done. Their jungler just died. And if you're tracking the timer, again, this timer is something that's pretty easy to track. The second jungle clear, you go by something. I'll show you. Since I'm going into jungle tracking this game, the way you can track a jungler is by this. You see how it's yellow on the minimap? When it's yellow on the minimap, that means the jungler is playing to that side of the map. Or will be playing to that side of the map soon. When it is up, the jungler is definitely there. So what's weird about this is your Kayn shouldn't have really been down here. Your Kayn should have been up here getting his red buff. But the Kha'Zix definitely should have been here, and after the Kha'Zix dies, he should be going top, because this is his next buff. It's what junglers care about, it's XP, and if you're not clearing optimally and the enemy team does not make a mistake, you're going to fall behind. So if the enemy team makes a mistake, you can capitalize on it, and then all of a sudden that risk you took by not clearing optimally can pay off. This is where Twitch jungle cheese comes in and stuff like that. You can never really track them because they just gank randomly. But if you're following that, and then you think about this pink ward, what does the pink ward over here imply? What can they do with this pink ward? If you have vision over in river, Twisted Fate's not going to roam normally. He's going to roam with his ult. So you're going to catch him way up here. The only person that's going to come through this tribe rush is Kha'Zix. And Kha'Zix is not going to be bottom for like 3 minutes. That's enough time for them to recall and buy another pink ward. So staying for this pink ward has no value for protection. It is only a greed for gold. That's all this play is. This is also a greed for gold. And if you're greeding for gold, watch this wave. Watch this wave with me. Do you see what just happened to this wave? If you are greeding for this ward, you just lost 2.5 waves mid. That is a kill. If you're greeding for the kill, you have 2.5 waves and you deny them 2 kills. So you're not thinking about what your decisions can mean for the team. Twisted Fate's roaming again. No, he wouldn't be roaming just yet. Again, you're focusing a lot on the minions. So, okay, if you're focusing this much on minions, your objective is to keep the TF from roaming. But at this point, you know he's not going to have his ult. He just used it, right? Yeah, it's halfway. So what you should be doing is you should be playing aggressive here. If you're tracking the enemy jungler, you know he's topside, so be playing down here. You even have a pink ward that's going to catch out half of the ganks that come up here. Be playing down here, aim for the Twisted Fate. Whenever you're just pushing the wave in, you're playing to his skill set. Because he can push waves just as fast as you can. Watch how this wave won't go anywhere. Actually, he's going to blue buff. It's going to go somewhere. Again, this is how Kha'Zix is up here. Proof. And you look for a roam. This isn't a bad time to look for one, honestly. It's not a bad time. Half of your gank path is clear. You have a jungler down here that's ready to help you. You have a Ziggs who's baiting, basically. So this is not a bad roam. This is a very good roam, in fact. Alright, very good roam, very good roam. And you stay for the turret? Stay for the turret here. Stay for the turret here. Do you know why? Here's why. And if you, okay, actually, maybe you would have wanted to walk back on your mid turret because it was low. If they wanted to get first turret here, they probably could have by keeping TF mid. Him walking bottom was something that I did honestly assume, but I shouldn't have relied on with making the stay for turret decision because it would have been smarter for him to just push mid. He wasn't going to show up for that fight in time. So yeah, going back mid was probably the smarter decision. Returning for the Twisted Fate, I don't know if I would do. Yeah, I would not return for the Twisted Fate. Because you're not going to want to bait with this. This is really risky to bait with. And you could be getting a lot more gold, XP, tower pressure, mid. So you had a good roam, but you turned around for it. Hmm. This is not a very necessary roam at all. If you're following watch her wave, right? You're looking up for this. At this point in time, everyone is showing up, right? But this wave is going to bounce by the time you get here. So she has no reason to be this far pushed. Even if the Teemo went in on her, you know, you would have been like here by the time she was already this far. So you deny yourself time to push in another wave, harass on Twisted Fate. It's like you're not even trying to harass Twisted Fate. You're just hitting the wave. Twisted Fate doesn't have ultimate now, though, because he ulted to lane. And your wards are catching people out. Play towards the bottom. You're pinging missing. You know he's roaming bottom right now. No, he's not. I thought he was walking down. Do you see how much damage your Q does whenever you don't hit it on the wave? And now he's going to have to play back. Do that twice more. He's not going to even be able to step up to card the wave. Then he's going to run out of mana. You need to use your abilities to poke more in this situation. You are playing a poke champion, not a wave clear champion. You can do both. But if you're just wave clearing, that's essentially what you'd pick Ziggs for. Walking down for this is a bit risky because, yeah, the Kha'Zix, if you were trying to bait it, I'd have been nervous baiting that. You did not have a huge advantage there. It did work out, but That's a risky bait. You had no advantage. It was a 2 versus 2. They were full life. Now you're looking for poke. Maybe you just wanted some items first? Okay. So at this point, you're realizing slowly that your team is losing top lane terribly, right? 0 and 5 Teemo, 4 and 0 Aurelia. This should not be a huge problem, but at the same time, your team is based off of wave clear and poke, right? Which means that you want to group where you can just siege shit down. And play with vision, of course, to get the pick off in the jungle. But their team now has a different route. They can split push. This is a really tricky situation. But one of the best ways you can respond to pressure is by creating pressure yourself. If you push this turret hard enough, Aurelia is going to step off of her turret and roam mid. And whenever you see her roaming mid, back off, Teemo pushes the wave out, and then you repeat the cycle. Or maybe you have someone waiting over here and you can play with your vision and get the pick. Okay? So this is where I was kind of thinking about the tier. And that's because it would allow you to be consistently pressuring this lane. Because once you run out of mana, you're just auto attack damage. And if you're just auto attack damage, you're at a severe disadvantage as Varus. He can do a lot with auto attacks, but not nearly as much as he can do with abilities. And you see how much damage you can take in trades when you don't have mana? So in this situation where I'm telling you that the Aurelia is head, the best way for you individually to respond to it is by creating pressure mid. That doesn't mean by attacking the minions. It means by attacking the TF to the point that you're able to attack the turret. Because if you never get to the turret, which you've just been wave clearing this whole time, you're never going to create true pressure here. They're going to just think that this lane is stalled out like two tanks playing top lane and hitting each other with noodles. And you see, this is an example right here. Every time you've roamed, every time you've recalled, that chunk of damage, right? This is almost dead. And if you did this as an AD carry, this turret would be dead. See, she's coming middle, but she's coming middle more to create pressure than respond to it, because there's no real pressure mid right now. So she's just A-ramming. All of this, I think I would have ended up having the same thing happen to me. It's really hard to deal with that because your Teemo is not in a position where he would even be any help coming down there. But you need to tell your Teemo he needs to get the fuck to this lane. Because one of the ways you respond to pressure is by creating it yourself. So if he's not going to be useful here, which is he's not going to be useful here. He needs to make it so Aurelia has to go back top lane. One of the best things you can do whenever you're behind, if you can survive, is to just push out the wave to keep the problem character away from the team fights. And at this stage, the 5-0 Aurelia is a problem. If Teemo keeps her out of here, the game's not that impossible. It's still pretty bad, but it's not impossible. Their bot lane is also doing a lot better than your bot lane. So this is a very unfortunate game so far. Part of the bot lane's dying, though, again, is you not controlling your mid laner. And if you want to look back to what I was saying, please do that. I don't want to repeat because it's part of it. I always miss something when I repeat myself. But this vision, like, right, you aren't setting up the TF roam bottom early. And as I said, money now is worth more than money later. So whenever they go and they get that early flash, they get that early level lead, which gets them that early kill, which gets them that early gold advantage, which gets them the next item, which lets them zone them out of another wave, which gets them in the next item, which lets them get the turret first. It snowballs a lot. So the earlier that they do something, the worse it is. If you're thinking you didn't expect that, which, you know, it's reasonable to say you didn't expect that. In this case, I would still have had a ward here because Twisted Fate was almost 6. And you're walking back mid. You still have not placed your pink ward. Or maybe you just got another one. No, but this is probably yours. Maybe you have two. I'm going to think you have two. So, okay. Now, what is your objective? As a mid laner who's based off of poke and pick, you're extending this far. Twisted Fate has ultimate. You didn't know where the Kha'Zix was. Do you see the danger in a play like this? If you're saying that you have protection, right? You do. You do have protection. Not from a Twisted Fate ultimate, though. And Kha'Zix can go stealth. So if Kha'Zix stealths from here, walks this far, leaps this far, you're stunned from the Twisted Fate who ported behind you, you're dead. I would not have been this far up as Varus mid in this point in the game. So what option does that leave you? I would have ganked bottom. If you gank bottom in this situation, you can guarantee a turret. You can guarantee it. Because you got your Ziggs with Satchel Charge, you've probably got your own auto attacks to do a shitload of damage to. You can guarantee it. And you would have been able to counter gank and probably turn this gank. Just think about where you are right now in your lane. If you were walking bottom instead, you were this far whenever I was mentioning that. You would have been here. Throw out your ult. That's a guaranteed kill. See? See where you are? See where this is? You saved a life, you got a kill. Maybe two. And you also denied the play that could have been done on you. Now, sure, if they group mid and we're pushing mid, then you just return and wave clear on this turret. But then the situation's different. Now you go back mid. I probably would have still stayed for the Xayah, actually. Because at this point, you going mid, you're just going to wave clear, and you could have wave cleared over here. This is the... Yeah, you're taking a lot of risks. So, okay. I noticed that a lot of the champions that you play are split pushers. And so you have a mix of split push and poke. With, I guess, wave clear, because poke and wave clear are kind of related. But with split pushing, one of the biggest parts of playing a split push is you need to be watching what the enemy wants to do, what their tools are to set up, and where they are. Twisted Fate ultimate, teleport, fucking way up here? Yeah, you should die. Now, of course, as Zed, you might have tried to wave, lane swap, right? You would have said, hey, mid, go, I'm going to go down bottom, and like, hey, you guys go mid, and you just wave through there. Sure. But if that's the case, why would you not stay for this so you can get an objective and you can just set the lane up for yourself later, right? Something like that? And maybe this is such a big problem for you because they have all this global stuff, so maybe you don't know how to respond to globals. How you respond to globals is by out-rotating them. Now, rotation still requires a lot of vision. And if you want to look into vision, part of your problem is here. You got 3 trinkets out. Part of your problem is here, or 3 trinkets and not out, where Sona does not have a sightstone. But if you're putting your wards in the right spot, you know, using your resources in a way that will set up your plays, you usually can set up for yourself. You usually can. 2 to 3 wards is usually perfect to set up for yourself. I have other stuff that talks more about that, but I'm not going to go too much into split pushing here. So your job this game is not to split push. But that's why I'm not going to go into it. Your job this game is not to split push. But it feels like that is a problem of yours, so I would look into that. Your job this game is to get picks at this point. The only way you're going to come back from this goal deficit of 8k, is by setting up a fight where you have an advantage. And the easiest advantage to set up is one of numbers. If you have more people than they do, odds are you win the fight. Just because this gold simply is not there. They have a fifth of this somewhere else. So now the gold lead looks a lot better. A lot more comparable. Right here, as I said, I probably would have also died. The best way that you could have responded to this as a team, or would have been to have Teemo continue pushing this. But over here, there's no excuse for you dying. There was no reason for you to be up here. And because you died up here, you lost this turret. Denying resources is just as important as getting resources. You could have denied this turret by not dying. Interesting. Push the wave up and get a turret. You should definitely get a turret here. Throw out your poke. All of your poke on Xayah. Okay, so he did go red. You're going to have to respond to your side wave soon, so you just lost your opportunity to push mid. And their wave clears back up. The only way you were going to be able to set up for this was if you managed to start this fight on the Xayah, so the Xayah died, and then the Aurelia had nothing to wave clear. So she would have just straight up died. Or left. Again, all of this is from the setup. The setup was over here. The setup was here. And the side wave, as I was saying, someone was going to have to go to the side wave, and someone was going to have to go to this side wave. So you guys lost your chance to push mid. And if you recognize that you have nothing to gain mid, then you need to use that time to set up. Throw down a pink ward where you think they're going to rotate. Catch them in your jungle. If you are going to do a chase like this, you better be prepared for them to turn on you. And they did turn on you, and you guys were not very prepared. Obviously, because you all died. So from here on out, it's extra tricky. Your goal deficit is huge. You have no map control. Your pink ward that you had out earlier is now dead, and you have nothing else through all of your blue side jungle and all of your red side jungle. Your only vision is a Teemo shroom. This is really difficult. Starting at 20 minutes, you need to have this area of the map controlled. As soon as Baron spawns, it is extremely important that you control this side of the map. So what you should be doing, of course, is getting a pink ward over here. With your pink ward, drop it either in this bush or on Baron itself. Because one way you can come back to this game is by just sneaking Baron. You see 3 people bottom? Give up this turret for Baron. Yes, do that trade. 100%. And otherwise, use this for your picks. They're going to eventually send someone, probably by themselves, to sweep this. And if not, that ward just provided you the protection of them not being able to do Baron for a little while. And that's still worthwhile, because that's how they're going to easily close out this game. That's the most important thing for you to be thinking about. And do you do it? Yeah, you warded over there. That's not going to set up for picks. This ward is only for stealing. It is only for stealing Baron. Never ward here when you have knowledge like this. Do you see what knowledge you have? You know where 3 people are, and you know where the 4th was. Right? Right here. 4th and 5th, right? 4th and 5th. What are they going to do after that, you think? Well, they don't have a jungler. They just backed off the wave. You see that 3 people are somewhere else. You take the fucking plant, and then you're still too scared to walk up and get you a ward that gives you knowledge. This ward, as I said, is only useful for stealing. And honest to God, by the time that they come over to do this, they're going to put a pink ward down here and clear it out. If you want to set up for a pick, you got to put somewhere over here. If you want to set up for a play, you got to put it somewhere over here. This is not going to do anything for you at all. There is no objective over here to protect. This is not setting up for any rotation you can protect from. And they could be at the other side of the map and still get more. And it's another situation of you just shouldn't have been there. Do you know where their numbers are? Do you know where their numbers are? Do you see all of this? All of that happens after you know where a lot of their people are, before you know where all of them are, admittedly. But do you see this darkness? They had a Morgana and a Xayah somewhere over here. Do you see all your fucking peel? Well, your peel's running this way. To the Kazakhs. Suicide, I guess. And your Ziggs is walking away. And you go into this by yourself. You stand still to make up your mind whether or not you want to put down a ward, when there could have been a Morgana in this bush. Morgana's now here. Oh no! This is a really obvious play. And now it's too late for you really to do anything. All of their deaths, it started with a snare. It doesn't matter if you got out because you killed them. And they get a bot turret. You just saw the Kazakhs recall. You know the Aurelia's mid. They're still controlling the side of the jungle. And again, there's nothing for them down here, especially since this turret's gone now. You should not care about this side of the jungle. This is the objective that matters. I would have played up for this. You know the Kazakhs is gone. You know the Aurelia walked away. That was fine. I would be staying mid, clear out this wave fast, try and get some damage on the turret. I think that was okay by you. I would have been on the wave too, which would have ended up in the exact same situation where I died to Kazakhs. Now all they have to do is wait out for minions to start coming in, pink this area, and get a pick. And then Baron. That's really all they need to do at this point. Um, at this point, I pretty much consider this game very, very lost. There's not a whole lot you can do outside of a miracle at this point. You're 15k behind, your inhib's down, and all they need to do is take Baron. And if you end up winning this, then apologies, because, you know, you surprised me. But I'm going to stop here and just highlight a couple of the things that I thought were your problems again. Your level 1, this is talking both about your resource management from the ward that you put down over here to not respecting jungle invades. If you're not doing everything in your power, then you're not trying to win. Second thing is you bounce the wave pretty well, level 1, that's not a problem. But then you focus a lot on the minions and you start tunneling on the minions. If you're trying to force people off of a wave, if you damage them, you're going to do a lot more for yourself in situations like this than if you damage the wave. Because it never got to their turret. Do you see it, this health on this turret? Basically, this is whenever he recalled and you recalled and the wave bounced. That's all this damage. You probably never hit this turret. And you never got a chance to because you were never damaging him. You never gave him a reason to respect you. Whenever you're playing something like Kassadin and you're trying to farm, I don't farm with my Q. I Q the enemy champion and I auto-attack the wave. That tells them that you're going to fight them. So that way, whenever you walk up to minions, part of the time they walk away from you because they don't want to get queued. That means you get the free CS, and you just hold on to your Q until they walk up again. This whole time, you were just hitting the wave with your Q as Kassadin and letting him poke you down. That's how you took 4 spells over here, 4 instances of damage. It's because you were only focused on the wave. Your jungle tracking, I don't know if you're trying to do it this game, but you actually did it pretty well by playing to the other side of the map when he should have been bottom clearing up. But you waste a lot of wards. You waste a lot of wards. From the one you put down over here, whenever your wave was bouncing, that wasn't necessary. It wasn't going to tell you anything because your cane wasn't even there. It just wasn't doing anything for you. And then another thing, you're not thinking about what the enemy team is trying to do. This entire game, you're not thinking about what the enemy team is trying to do. The early roams from Twisted Fate you did not have setup for. The mid game, whenever you were extended this fucking far, the times that you were trying to fight the Morgana in this bush when there was no objective to set up for, you're not thinking about what the enemy team wants to do. And because of that, you play into their hands. They have control of this corner of the map, and you want vision of it? Great. Come into my jungle. This is their house right now. You need to set up your vision where it matters, where the objective is. Poke them off of this if they go on it. Those, I think, are your main issues. Your mechanics are fine. Your trading is pretty good. It's just that you don't try and trade a lot of the time, and you weren't getting anything out of it, so that's why I'm pointing it out. Your resource management is a little bit bad because you're spamming these abilities on the wave just to keep it from pushing into your tower. But if you had just built tier, it's my bias. This isn't a biased build, I admit. But tier would have solved a lot of your mana problems. Would have let you poke a little bit more and would have probably prevented your first turret from falling because you would have had a lot less damage on it. Outside of that, you had some excellent roams, but you had some questionable like turnarounds. Like after the Kane failed his hop here, I would have ignored him. And then whenever you were chasing down the Morgana and you sat in this bush, that was bad. That was a greedy play. And then the other time that you could have turned back for the Xayah, that was not getting anything out of your roam. You basically 1-for-1 traded kills, and then you didn't get anything. The things that win games, well, you want to know the single thing that wins a game? Well, here it is. It's your Nexus. Do you know how you get to the Nexus? Of course you fucking do, but people don't think about it. It's with turrets. The only objectives that matter in this game is a row of turrets and then the Nexus. If you're getting kills, kills are the same thing as warding. They are literally, to me, as valuable as a ward. Because a ward sets up for a smart fight, which lets you take an objective, right? You make them recall, or you kill them, or you ace them, or whatever. If you kill them and then you just recall, or you go back to your lane and you don't get anything, you're no closer to winning. All these turrets are still up, and you're no closer to winning. If you're split pushing, that's a different story. Sometimes you have to back off of a wave. Just creating the pressure is enough, because then someone comes down here, and then you rotate up for the team fight. You created a smart team fight. But this game, you weren't split pushing. So what do? You make sure that once you get something, you capitalize. You got to get objectives. Objectives win the game. All right, that's it for this review. Hope you find some of it useful.